All right, how's it going out there, folks? Welcome back here to a Saturday night. January 18th, 2025 is the date. 10:40 p.m. That's California time here. Latest activity here on the Earthquake 3D globe shows a little 0.9 across the California area. Still watching a pretty significant earthquake swarm here across the area, just off Taiwan and the Japan area, well inland. This is a pretty good earthquake swarm with a significant amount of moderate twos. That's moderate earthquake activity. Nothing major going on here yet. Fours and fives out here, with the latest being a 5-pointer out here across the region of Japan and Taiwan. Still watching the Nankai Trough area. This is a major subduction zone area that's capable of producing upwards up to a 9.0 earthquake upon full rupture. And that area obviously of some concern, right? If you look at the Earthquake 3D globe, there shows a pretty significant amount of earthquake activity in that region. Nothing going on up there across the Japan area northward through the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench for now. Typical movement here across the crunch zone of the Java Trench and the Indonesia Islands area. A little bit of activity stirring up in southwestern Australia with a 3.8. And some movement stirring up here across New Zealand northward. And a little bit of activity here southward here across the Macquarie Island region, where we've seen looks like a 5-pointer coming in earlier this afternoon. Nothing major going on here across New Zealand, but goodness, we've been getting a lot of activity bouncing back and forth here between the areas north and south recently. And eventually, of course, New Zealand's going to fill in here with some large-scale activity. That's just that's how it goes, unfortunately. Let's go ahead and check out California. One earthquake here on the San Andreas Fault. On the creeping section, of course, that's an area to watch here in terms of plate tectonic development, or movement, I should say. When the creeping segment here of the San Andreas Fault moves, that means that things are technically on the move out here across the West Coast. A number of earthquakes there across the creeping segment. No major earthquake activity out here for now, but noticing a swarm of activity stirring up here across this area, including the latest earthquake with a 2.2 in the last hour there outside of Kalinga on the San Andreas Fault creeping section. Out here across the locked area of the San Andreas Fault, 2 earthquakes here near the similar area of California earlier this morning. This is the area, obviously, of locked region. That means that we're building up steam here across the area for some big earthquake activity. Gotta watch that specifically, because when this area moves, oh man, does it move in a big fashion. A couple smaller earthquakes there across Los Angeles. Nothing big as far as anything above 2.5. In fact, the last earthquake out here near Big Bear City, a 2.5 outside the San Bernardino mountain range. Stress off of the plate boundary here being produced in the San Bernardino mountain range as expected. You guys want to hear something as well? Remember this morning I talked about the Kilauea volcano coming up to a pause status by tonight. Well, earlier this afternoon, that looks like that pause came to be. Now, obviously, we got some lava fields out there from the previous eruption. Notice the luminescent out here of the glow of the lava field, and even some around the crater area, but it looks like the eruption has paused. So this was, I kind of called that right off the bat there earlier this morning. So it paused as of 10 a.m. Hawaii time. This was after my update video. And the reason why I called this was because of the level of inflation out here matching, or I should say the level of deflation matching the previous level of deflations there throughout the last year time period. If you look here back in August, September of last year, back in December. There's a little time period here where only so much inflation can be seen here at the surface level in terms of the ongoing eruption, and it looks like we've reached that level here. Therefore, the eruption has come to a pause for now. But notice that the pause here, right? There's the pause earlier this morning, Hawaii time. Since the pause, things have come up in terms of inflation there. So obviously we still have some elevated areas below the surface that lets me know there that the eruption will probably resume there pretty soon across the area of Kilauea Volcano. Just a matter of time. Further inland out here across the states, nothing going on through Yellowstone National Park, but I do want to double check that because it's been an area of interest. Obviously, a lot of people wonder what's going on with Yellowstone, and to be frank, there's not a whole lot going on with Yellowstone. There's no major inflation. There's no doom and gloom, fear mongering going on out here. A lot of people use that Yellowstone supervolcano here wording for views, and there's nothing going on out here, folks. We would know about it if there was something going on. So that's why I like to explain the facts out here. It's all about the facts, ma'am, or sir, or whoever, right? And there's not a whole lot of earthquake activity going on out there across Yellowstone. That's just the cold, hard truth. Whether those want the Yellowstone to blow out there or not, well, they're going to have to wait a while because that's not in the forecast. That's not on the menu. Texas area, oil fields obviously getting hit. Some newer activity out here around Louisiana. Now, it's funny. The weather pages out here are kind of fear-mongering this earthquake here outside of Shreveport, Louisiana today. A couple local weather stations out there on the Facebook pages. Check it out. There's an earthquake out here around Shreveport, Louisiana before the major snowstorm expected. Oh, give me a break. Give me a break. Okay, Shreveport, Louisiana, this area specifically around Morningsport, Louisiana, is littered with oil fields, massive amounts of oil fields out here. And if you look it up, it's littered across the map here. Okay, this is just one mention here. Longwood oil field and gas field. Okay, lots of oil fields out here. And in fact, the last couple months here have seen an increase in earthquake activity out here across the oil fields. This has nothing to do with a snowstorm coming up, okay? Give me a break. The snowstorm didn't cause or isn't causing earthquake activity out here. It's simply a coincidence of earthquake activity in the oil fields that's been happening out here. That will continue to happen for the foreseeable future in the oil fields of anywhere out here, Louisiana, Arkansas, wherever you have oil and gas fields, you can expect earthquakes to be quite common, and that is the facts. And that's what's going on out there today. Just some earthquake activity. It's funny. I mentioned this last night, how earthquake activity has been, a lot of people think that earthquake activity is, wow, it's more common. What's going on? Why is there so much earthquake activity happening around the globe? Well, that's because you have weather pages reporting earthquake activity. You have sport pages reporting earthquake activity. You have these normal stations, these normal Facebook, Twitch, TikTok, whoever it is, reporting their typical patterns, right? It's a format, right? Say if you have a news station reporting music format changes out there across the country, right? So say 101.1 out of Sacramento changes their format from R&B to country. All of a sudden, they're reporting earthquake activity, and it looks as though earthquake activity is ramping up out here across the world, but that's not the case. Everyone's chiming in on the views, the clicks, the ad views and stuff like that. That's what's going on. I've seen it. I haven't done nothing out of the ordinary out here besides report Earth-related events. You never see me reporting sports or anything like that. But the sports stations, the other weather stations out here are reporting earthquake activity. Tornado reporters, they're reporting. Look at this, a 5-pointer in Mexico. Oh my gosh, what's going on down there? And that causes a panic. So I don't like that one bit. I really don't. I don't like the fear mongering. I don't like the click view, right? Look at me. I'm a sports station. All of a sudden, there's a 4.2 in South America. Oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Okay, this is very typical, right? That's why you follow this channel, right? Because you guys want the facts. Earthquakes happen on any given day across the area. In fact, and I'm going to tell you guys here, if you watch my channels, 2024, we had 1,500 earthquakes less, magnitude 4.5 and above, than 2023. The thing is, people are chiming in on earthquakes because they bring in views. So ignore and, pretty much block those people that, want to fearmonger out there. There's a lot of weather channels out there now picking up on earthquake activity because it brings in the views, and that's what pays them the bills. That's what pays the bills for them. So, ignore that. Earthquake activity is not increasing out here. We look for little patterns out here across the West Coast or in any general area, but as I explained, 2024, 1,500 earthquakes less of magnitude 4.5 and above than what we've seen in 2023. So I want to put those facts out there. I don't like the stations and the pages that fearmonger just typical earthquake activity that occurs on any given day. I've been watching this stuff for many, many years. I've got a degree in studying this stuff. I'm working towards my master's degree in studying geology and all these plate tectonics out here. So these weather pages that have not a clue on what's going on, just for views, come to the facts here. Ignore those weather pages that think they know stuff out here because they don't. It's just a click view. Click me, click this YouTube video. So it's just annoying. It's really annoying out there is the simple facts. I cover this stuff all the time, folks, and I pay attention to trends. I pay attention to elevated seismic swarms out here like we're seeing across Taiwan. Yes, that's obviously newsworthy video or news information, but a simple 4.9 out here along the Kermadec Trench, unless there's a major swarm or something going on out there, that's typical on any given day. So you gotta separate the facts there from the click views. All right, I know you guys like a lot of tornado videos and weather channel videos, but those guys are chiming in on the clicks because they know it brings them in views. It's just tiring. It's getting into a crazy phase right now of social media and stuff like that going on here in 2025. It's probably going to get worse. It's going to get worse, and a lot of people are going to fearmonger a lot of stuff out here. They're going to claim this 1.8 in Connecticut is the start of a major earthquake event that's about ready to hit Hartford area. That's this type of stuff I try to squash. But as I mentioned this, a lot of people, even viewers here, claim to state that, well, I want to watch it. I want to be informed of it, but at the same time, it's click view, it's a clickbait, and it's just irrelevant information out there. So that's why I kind of come out here and try to preach the truth. I don't like to, get all upset and yell at people out here, but I want to preach the truth and information out here. And a 1.8 earthquake outside of East Haddam area of Connecticut is really not that big of a deal. In fact, this area on occasion sees a couple earthquakes here on any given month. It sits outside of the little major seismic zone there outside of New York. So earthquakes, they happen. Is it something for sport pages to report? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. What I report is elevated activity in relevant areas. Relevant areas, okay? Everyone likes, it's just crazy. Everyone's a know-it-all these days. It's just absurd. Absurd, to say the least. All right. So let me check out the tremor map out here tonight and see what we have for Cascadia Tremor, which I'm quite knowledgeable in. I've studied this for quite a while. The Cascadia subduction zone is a major subduction zone outside the Pacific Northwest, and the tremor events out here are relative to the strain that's being produced upstream. Right? Makes sense. As you subduct the Juan de Fuca plate underneath the North American plate, you get tremor, but also at the same time, built up strain for the next big 9-pointer out there across the Pacific Northwest. That's a fact. So two major events out there. 244 is the epicenter total count. There's nothing going on there, though, far as any elevated earthquake activity. I'll bring this up here real quick. So that's good news. What I'm watching for, though, is elevated tremor down south. And I say that because the elevated tremor down south has been leading to elevated earthquake activity upstream here around the locked area and the adjacent plates here across the Northern California region. And that tells me right there that things are pretty well compacted, roughly about as much as you can be here before a big earthquake takes place. So I'm still watching this area. I know what I'm talking about. I'm not just some weather guy stating information out here. I've studied this for many years. I study plate tectonics. I've studied geology for many years, and I'm working towards my master's degree. And I'm not a forecaster. I'm not an earthquake forecaster. Technically, you cannot forecast earthquakes out here. There's some that may state that. They may state, I'm going to forecast a 6.0 earthquake here across California in the next 20 years. Well, that's foolish, right? If you think about it, that's very foolish to say that California is going to have a 6-pointer in the next 20 years, to claim that, because that California can have an earthquake at any given time, a 6.0 and above. It's. I want to bang my head a couple times here, but I can't, or else I might just go to sleep here. But forecasting earthquakes, you just can't do it. You can look at little earthquake swarms, and you can make an assumption here that the strain is much higher out here across the West Coast than normal because of elevated earthquake activity, and therefore the chances of larger magnitudes are probably higher because of the increasing earthquake activity out here and the pressure. But to forecast, it's a touchy subject, let me tell you. All right, enough of the ranting right there, right? I kind of went off board, but I just, everyone and everything is reporting earthquakes these days, and to say a tornado page or a weather page is reporting earthquakes, and the folks there are thinking that there's more earthquakes than normal. It's just, there needs to be some clarification in the earthquake reporting out here, and that's why I'm here. To be honest, that's why I'm here, and I preach the facts. I preach the truth out here, and I don't speak otherwise. I'm not going to say something that I don't know facts about. Space weather. That's another thing. I absolutely love and study space weather activity, and this is one thing I've been studying as well for many years, and that's the solar flare activity. When things get going out here, they get going. But right now, we're looking at minimal activity here in the last 24 hours. In fact, I've lowered my flare threat out here for the X-flare activity, lower than the 25% chance, because of the complexity of a couple different weather model, or the sunspot models out here. This shows the polarity complexity models out here, and there's clear-cut separation here of this massive sunspot area. If this started growing and getting some complexity, that would be something to watch. But this is a clear cut between the blue and the red, indicating not a very complex sunspot area. Same for this area, same for this whole region, same for the whole eastern limb. This area out here on the western limb here, still somewhat complex, but not as complex as what it had been here about a day previous. That's going to be sunspot number, let's see here, 3964. So, as you can see here, in the last couple of days, 3964 has produced a number of M flares. But since then, things have kind of died down here, just in the low C flare category. We did have one M flare here in the last 12 hours, but things are dying off. So that means that the complexity there of 3964 is taking a nosedive, or at least stable. But we will still watch that area potentially for some M flare, maybe an X flare. But for that matter, there's not a whole lot of complex sunspots out there. They are circling this area down here in the southwestern quadrant of the sun. Some growth being observed down here that may harbor some C and M flare activity in terms of impulsive events. But, for the most part, we got to watch what comes around the eastern limb here. Maybe we'll see something a little bit better. No major aurora activity in the forecast there for now. A beautiful 71% illumination moon there. I absolutely love taking photos of the moon in this phase due to the shadows, the shadow effect out there. Beautiful imagery. I got a P900, an Nikon P900 that I love taking shots of the moon with. And this is pretty much what it would look like if I were to go out there tonight. But it's about 34 degrees, 33 degrees out there. And, I'm just going to pass on that tonight. A little bit of aurora amplification coming in right now across the extreme higher latitudes with looks like some unsettled conditions out there across Canada, maybe Alaska as well. All right, let's check out the numerical model. A lot of folks freezing out there, right? Pretty cold temperatures. I guess, if I were out there in some cold temperatures like that, it would be pretty cold. I say 33 degrees out here in Northern California because that's kind of cold for us. So as we put this map into motion here, really no major weather events until we come into early next week. We're talking about snow along the Gulf Coast of Texas. How's that sound for you guys down there around Gulfport, Houston area, Louisiana? You guys want some snow? Well, looks like some ice down there being observed as well for the forecast. A lot of cold air venturing in down there. After that, well, another cold air event coming down there across the Rockies area. That looks like maybe that includes California as well. As we head towards next weekend, that's a little interesting chain of events there. Gosh darn it. Unfortunately, no major precipitation makers out there across California for now. Higher elevation rainfall. This may be snow as well, but it's looking high and dry for California and the West Coast and northern northwestern area, the Pacific Northwest, high and dry as well. That's very concerning. Definitely very concerning out there. All right, folks, I'm going to bounce out of here. Seismograph station's pretty quiet. Nothing major going on there for now across the globe. And again, folks, these earthquakes are, almost always occurring out here around the globe. Areas of interest is where we get these swarming events take place around a major, potentially very hazardous area, the Nankai Trough here. So got to remember this strain out there. All these earthquakes occurring around Taiwan, Japan, putting the strain out there around the Nankai Trough, which is capable of producing in upper 8, lower 9 magnitude out there, and it's potentially overdue. So I look for patterns like that. Earthquake activity in general is very common across the globe, but look for regions of interest, and that includes areas out there around Taiwan and New Zealand down here, in between a major hotspot area. Movement down south, movement up north. Obviously, an area in between would be of interest. So watch for some further activity down there across New Zealand. You guys have yourself a good night. We'll catch you guys back out here tomorrow morning for the Sunday morning update. Stay safe out there and take care.